First up today is modulating from the 1 key area, let's say in C major, to the 5 key area, which would be G major in this instance. I've set up an initial progression just to establish our first key of C major. Okay, and then the goal of a pivot chord, particularly when you're going to closely related keys, is to have a predominant chord in the bottom of the pivot chord symbol. So I like to put a 2 chord here, and a 2 in G is going to be A minor chord, and A minor in C is going to be 6. So we have a 6/2 here, and that's going to give us an A in the bass. And then we get to the 5 chord here. I'm going to put a 5/7, and this is going to be a D dominant 7th chord. So I'm going to put a D in the bass. Okay? So I'm going to keep my common tone here, just establishing the key very nicely. And then A, C, E is the chord, so I'm going to keep the C and the E common. I'm just going to move that tenor voice from G to A. And now this is where we have to add an accidental. Typically after the pivot chord is where you add an accidental. Typically it's, in many cases, not all, but in many cases it's a raised leading tone in the new key. So we're going to need an F sharp. This is a D, F sharp, A, C chord. So here's an A common, here's a C common, we'll put the F sharp right here. Okay, so here we have an example of going from the 1 key area to the 4 key area, C to F. I've set up our initial progression in C just to establish C. And then of course we need to create the opportunity to introduce a new chromatic note after the pivot chord. And in this case, to get to the 5/7, we would just repeat the chord that we had previous, which is the 5 chord, but now just lower or write in the chordal 7th. And we have to lower the B to B flat to make that a major minor 7th chord. And then we go to F here, and then we can finish off like that. And then you could confirm this with a cadential 6/4 following. Okay, feel free to pause the video. Okay, so the last modulation I want to show you is from a minor key to its relative major, partner key, if you will. So C minor going to E flat major, they both have the same key signature. Okay, so that's a closely related relationship. Again, I like to have predominant key when I can, or predominant chord when I can in the lower part of the pivot. So I'm going to select a 2 chord in E flat major. That is an F minor chord. F minor and C is the little 4 chord. So again, I've established my opening progression, and now I need an F here. And I'm going to just put the A flat there. And then I need a B flat chord for the 5/7. So I'm going to put my B flat in the bass. That's a B flat, D, F, A flat chord. I'm going to keep that F common. Look at the A flat, that's common there. And here's your outer leading tone, the D. Okay. And notice there's no chromatic note in this case because these 2 keys share the exact same key signature. So this is the one exception where you don't really have a chromatic note after the pivot chord. Okay, and then 1, of course, is going to be E flat. Chordal 7th goes down. This has to go up. I like to triple my root. Okay, so take a good look at that. And feel free to pause the video. Okay, so let's now get into some chromatic harmony. Here I have a nice progression ready for a Neapolitan 6 chord or a flat 2/6 chord being used in a C major progression. And the flat 2/6 means a chord, a major chord, built off the lowered scale degree 2 of the key. So in this case, D flat is lowered scale degree 2. And it's a major chord. So this is going to be a D flat, F, A flat chord. And when you have chromatic notes, you typically want to double the note that's not sort of the new note in the progression. So I'm going to double the F. Okay, and because this is in first inversion, I have to put my F down here. And so this functions as a predominant chord. So again, this makes sense. You have tonic, predominant, your dominant, cadential 6/4, and then your tonic again. Okay, so I'm going to put my bass notes in first. And then there's kind of a special soprano voice that I really recommend. So start with scale degree 1 up top, and then you'd want to have flat 2, and then 1, and then 7. If it's minor, you'd raise the 7, obviously, and then 1 again. So I'm going to write that in right now. And then I'm going to double my F, so it makes sense to put the F right here. Okay? And then remember, lowered notes like to resolve down, so this A flat just goes back to G, okay? And this falls into place really nicely. And notice there's no leaping in the top 3 voices. So when we do our cadential 6/4s, again, 4 above the bass is here, 3 above is here, 6 above is here, 5 above is here. So we're just following the instructions, okay, in the figured bass. Then we just go back stepwise or common tone to our original chord. So C, D flat, C, B, C. And of course, if you had the minor mode in here, if it was C minor, you wouldn't need the A flat, but you'd need a B natural here. Of course, you'd need the D flat. Okay? And we're going to be looking at augmented 6th chords right now. So the Italian augmented 6 uses the following scale degrees: flat 6 and scale degree 1 twice, and then raise scale degree 4. Okay? So I'm going to put my flat 6 in the bass. It's always the rule there. I'm going to put my raised 4 right here, so it'll nicely resolve upwards. And then I need 2 scale degree 1s, so that would be C and C. So here's C common, and then just a tiny leap of a third, no big deal. That's perfectly acceptable. Okay, so there's your Italian augmented 6th. Okay, let's look at the German augmented 6th now, and its scale degrees are flat 6, 1, flat 3, raised 4. So 3 of the 4 notes are exactly the same as the Italian augmented 6. We just have to put the flat 3 right here, and just make sure that you have a natural sign for the next E. So we have an E, E flat, E motion in the alto voice in this example. And again, look at this. No leaping at all in the top 3 voices. Again, when we get into more chromatic harmony, there's very rarely leaps in the top 3 voices. I mean, they can happen, but it's more rare. Everything's starting to get more and more sophisticated, and just half steps in as we go from chord to chord can mean a world of difference. It's kind of fascinating that way. Okay, and then the French augmented 6, you just, again, it shares 3 of the 4 notes are the same for all of them, but here you have a scale degree 2. So instead of the E flat, you just erase this and you make it a D right there. Okay, so 1 French augmented 6. You don't need the E natural anymore, obviously. And then cadential 6/4, 1. And of course, if you had you can do these in C minor, just you have to adjust your accidentals accordingly. Okay, so we're going to work with modal mixture now, and that just means that we're borrowing from the parallel key. So if we're in C major, we can borrow chords that typically occur in the C minor diatonic space. So that means we could take an A flat major chord, which is the big 6 chord in C minor, but in C major we just put a little flat in front of a big Roman numeral 6, and you can have an A flat major chord. Sounds really nice. This is a fun unit for my students because this has sort of a film music quality to it. So it's kind of an exciting unit for people. And again, just more proof that four-part chorale style part writing is relevant today. Okay, so here we have a 1 to a flat 6. I've started to set up the progression here, and again, now we have an E flat chord. That's a big 3 in C minor, but it's written at flat big 3 in C major because we have to indicate we're borrowing it from the parallel key. So I have E flat here. I'm going to put my B flat here. And I need that chordal third, so I'm going to go there. Yeah, and we can keep, going on with these. And again, when you have root motions by seconds, the bass ascends and everything else drops up top. So I'm going to put my F here. I'm going to put an A flat here and a little leap of a third, not a big deal. A minor third to C here in the alto voice. And then we can continue with our progression this way. And we have our 5/7 chord. So we've left out the chordal fifth, which is totally fine, right? So we just have G. We have another G. We've doubled the root. We've had the chordal seventh and the chordal third, so that's perfectly acceptable. So try playing this progression at the piano. It's kind of exciting to listen to. Big 1, big flat 6, big flat 3, little 4, then to a 5/7. And we can just put a courtesy natural here if we wanted to, just to kind of reemphasize that we don't have a flat here anymore. We've got a natural because we're in C major still. All right, thanks so much for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.